Today, we're going to trace a really remarkable journey of faith. It's one that starts with this quiet, personal whisper of trust and then builds all the way up to a huge public shout of victory. And we're going to do it by exploring 5 incredibly powerful psalms from one of the most fascinating people in history, King David. So you might be thinking, a 3,000-year-old song? Really? I get it. How can some ancient poetry from a shepherd king possibly connect with our lives? With all the deadlines and notifications? Well, as we're about to see, the raw emotions in these songs, the fear, the hope, the trust, they're absolutely timeless. You see, the Book of Psalms is basically an ancient prayer book, a collection of songs that really covers the whole range of human experience. We're going to follow a very specific sequence, from Psalm 16 all the way to 20, that shows this beautiful progression of faith, from this deep personal reliance on God to a huge public celebration. Okay, so our journey kicks off right here with Psalm 16. This is the foundation. It's all about what it means to build your life on this bedrock of personal, secure faith and finding your real satisfaction in God and God alone. So right out of the gate, David makes it super clear where his true worth comes from. It's not his crown, it's not his money, not his army. He's making this radical statement that his relationship with God is the single most valuable, most secure thing he could ever have. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. The words David uses here, portion and heritage, in his culture, those words meant one thing: land. Your land was everything, your security, your status, your entire identity. So for David to say that God himself is his inheritance, that was a complete redefinition of what matters. He's basically shouting, my security isn't in what I own, it's in who I know. And then the psalm builds to this absolutely stunning moment of hope. David says he's confident God won't just abandon him to death. But fast forward a few hundred years, and the apostles Peter and Paul look back at this exact verse and say, whoa, David was pointing to someone much greater. They saw it as a direct prophecy of the Messiah, Jesus, whose body wouldn't decay because he would conquer death itself. But what happens when that deep, secure faith runs headfirst into a hostile, unfair world? Well, that's exactly where Psalm 17 takes us. This is David's raw cry for justice when his trust is being pushed to the absolute limit. The whole mood just shifts here, doesn't it? From contentment to just pure desperation. And the imagery is so intimate, the apple of the eye. Think about it, that's the most sensitive, most protected part of your body. David is begging for God's most tender and fierce protection from enemies he says are arrogant, ruthless, and closing in on him fast. And right here, David draws a sharp line in the sand. He looks at his enemies and calls them men of the world which have their portion in this life. Basically, their treasure, their happiness, it's all about the here and now. Their entire worldview is focused on earthly power and pleasure. And this leads to the psalm's incredible finale. Notice that David's ultimate hope isn't just about his enemies getting what they deserve. Nope. The real satisfaction, the ultimate justice he's longing for, is something totally different. It's that moment he awakes, after death, and sees God face to face. His hope isn't temporary, it's eternal. This brings us to the dramatic turning point in our whole journey. After the cry for help, we get the song of deliverance. Psalm 18 is this triumphant, just epic testimony to God's power to save. David just explodes with praise here. He's piling up all these powerful metaphors for God. He's a rock, solid, unmovable. A fortress, a place of total safety, a deliverer, an active rescuer. This isn't just some abstract idea. This is a declaration that comes straight from his own experience. I mean, the scale of God's intervention here is just breathtaking. David describes it in these huge cosmic terms. It's like a divine thunderstorm. The earth shakes, smoke and fire are erupting, and God himself bows the heavens to come down. This wasn't some quiet little rescue. This was a world-shaking display of power, all for him. And right here, this is the heart of it all. David is completely honest. He admits he was outmatched. His enemies were too strong for him. The victory wasn't his. And that's what makes this so powerful. It was God and God alone who rescued him from a situation that was completely hopeless. So after experiencing a rescue that dramatic, David is moved to think about the nature of the God who saved him. And in Psalm 19, he shows us the 2 main ways God reveals himself, through his incredible creation and through his perfect word. So the psalm opens with this grand, sweeping statement. The heavens declare the glory of God. It's like a silent sermon being preached every single day and every single night to every person on earth in a language that everybody understands. The sheer majesty of creation just points to a glorious creator. Then the psalm pivots. It goes from the vastness of the sky to the laser focus of God's word. Look at this. The law isn't just a list of rules. It's described as perfect, sure, right, and pure. And each one of those qualities has a direct, amazing effect on us. It converts the soul, makes us wise, brings joy, and opens our eyes. It's a personal revelation that changes us from the inside out.
And this brings us to the climax of our journey in Psalm 20. The faith that started as this deep, personal conviction back in Psalm 16 now moves out into the open, becoming this confident, communal prayer for the whole nation. Suddenly, the perspective shifts from I to we. This is the sound of a whole community united in faith, lifting up their leader. They're not just wishing him luck. They are actively praying for God to step in and save him, which by extension saves them all.
This verse just lays out the central choice of the whole psalm. Back in the ancient world, chariots and horses, that was the equivalent of today's fighter jets and aircraft carriers. It was the absolute peak of military tech. Trusting in them wasn't just an option, it was the smartest, most logical thing to do. And right against that backdrop of all that human strength, they make their powerful declaration, "But we will remember the name of the Lord our God." That's the choice. The failing power of human tech on one side, and the never-ending power of God's name, his very character and authority on the other. So let's just recap the path we've taken. We started with that quiet conviction that God is our true inheritance. We walked through the valley of injustice, hearing that cry for protection. Then we witnessed the storm of God's epic rescue, which led to this deeper understanding of who he is. And finally, we ended up here, at this place, of bold, public, united trust. At the end of the day, these Psalms show us a completely honest, raw, and ultimately triumphant conversation with God that covers every season of life. And they're really an invitation for us to do the same. So the real question is, what will your conversation be?